Now at 10 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, a woman accused of trying to drown a Palestinian child has been arrested again. And demolition of the church in Sutherland Springs, where the deadliest church shooting in U.S. history occurred, has paused for now. Plus, the White House continues to deal with the fallout after President Biden's debate performance, with calls for him to drop out.
We're going to be tracking the path of the storm. There is Beryl. It's going to have something to do with Texas. Most of your 4th of July will be okay, but next week, Sunday night, it's going to be stormy around here. We'll be talking about it coming up.
And the Houston Astros looking to take the series in Toronto. I'll have that coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Karina Garcia. Don Brubaker has the night off. This week in Palacios, a police officer helped alert a family to a fire at their home. It happened in the 800 block of Roe Rim Avenue. 3 adults were inside the home, but they got out okay. Fire crews say the blaze burned for about 3.5 hours. The estimated loss is at $60,000. Now that fire is still under investigation, and the fire marshal asks anyone with information to contact them at 361-972-3605. People on the island of Jamaica are bracing for a possible landfall from Hurricane Beryl. The powerful storm, currently at a Category 4, and has claimed the lives of at least 7 people.
In Jamaica, Hurricane Beryl slamming the Caribbean island with life-threatening conditions. The entire island now declared a disaster area, with officials warning of water and power disruptions. ABC's Faith Abube is on the north side of the island in Montego Bay.
Essentially, tourists, vacationers are stuck here on this island. They can't get out right now if they haven't already gotten out. At our hotel where we are staying, in fact, our photographer went in about an hour ago and they had already lost power. We're not even anywhere close to Hurricane Force winds, and they've already lost power.
This family from New Jersey forced to ride out the storm.
We tried to get some flights out late last night, but unfortunately we were unsuccessful. But hopefully we're hoping that we can get on our flight that's scheduled to leave tomorrow.
Beryl has already wreaked havoc on other islands in the Caribbean, making landfall Monday on the island of Carriacou as a Category 4. Grenada's prime minister surveying widespread damage.
To see this level of destruction, it is almost Armageddon-like, almost total damage or destruction of all buildings.
Volunteers in Jamaica now standing by to help. The Prime Minister has set a curfew for the entire island. Beryl could be the first major hurricane on record to make landfall in Jamaica during the month of July. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
So here's your viewer poll tonight. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen to vote. The question is, when do you normally prepare before a hurricane/tropical storm hits? According to our results, it looks like 1 to 2 weeks out takes the lead with 49% share of the vote. Thank you for voting tonight. And with that, let's toss it over to Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis, who is actually tracking the hurricane and can give you the latest.
Absolutely, and we're going to be showing you exactly where it's going to go. Now, here's the ironic part about it. Here's Hurricane Beryl right there, and a couple hundred miles behind it, another tropical storm is trying to develop and follow pretty much in its path. It won't be as big as this one, because this one's for the record books, but there is the island of Jamaica. And of course, the path takes it to the Yucatan, eventually into deep South Texas. And so we're going to be looking for some tropical rains, big rains, beginning Sunday night. We'll have more details coming up in just a moment.
A woman accused of attempting to drown a 3-year-old in an apartment complex pool has been arrested. Authorities arrested Elizabeth Wolf on May 19th after witnesses say she tried to drown a child and argued with the child's mother. The child and their family are Muslim and Palestinian. Police charged Wolf with attempted capital murder of a person under 10 years old and injury to a child, but was released after posting bail. During a bond hearing on June 27, Wolf's bond was increased to $1 million. And she was taken back into custody. The incident is now being investigated as a hate crime. Plans to tear down a small Texas church where a gunman in 2017 killed more than 24 worshipers drew visitors Tuesday as a last-minute push was made to stop the demolition. Leaders of the First Baptist Church of Sutherland Springs have not publicly announced when it has plans to demolish the sanctuary. On Tuesday, a Texas judge approved a temporary restraining order sought by some families to delay the demolition. The order instructs the church to not begin demolition and to appear before the court later this month. A person has been arrested after leading police on a chase in a stolen ambulance in El Paso. The suspect led police on a chase before crashing into a rock wall outside an apartment building. The investigation is now underway into how they were able to access the vehicle Tuesday morning. A spokesperson outlined some of their policies regarding ambulances and staff.
Required staff to stay in the vehicles, some other times to lock them. For example, sometimes depending on the circumstances, the vehicles will be unlocked, for example, inside of a station where the base doors are closed. But once they are open, they have to be locked, for example. So it changes depending on the situation.
The ambulance was stolen outside the emergency room, and authorities say the crew was not with the ambulance at the time and no patients were on board. No injuries have been reported, and police have not released the name of the suspect, but they say they were not a hospital patient. Now on to the fallout following President Biden's debate performance. Sources say the president is keeping an open mind about whether to stay in the race. This comes as the White House struggles to fend off tough questions about Biden's mental fitness.
In the first stunning indication that President Biden is seriously considering his next step, sources tell ABC News Biden told at least 2 people his next few public appearances are critical to determining whether he can stay in the race. They say the president is keeping an open mind about his path forward, saying he knows he has to perform well on his upcoming campaign stops as well as his Friday interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos to change public perception. Separately, the New York Times first reported that Biden is weighing whether to continue his re-election bid, a claim the White House quickly rejected.
The president is clear-eyed, and he is staying in the race.
The president's widely panned debate performance last week left his campaign scrambling to stave off mounting concerns about his mental fitness. Today, Biden's speaking to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer for the first time since the debate, according to a top White House aide, just one day after he spoke to House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
He has done this outreach. He's having these conversations. It is important to him to do so.
With just 4 months until Election Day, many Democrats now torn between backing the president or rallying behind a new candidate. Texas Democratic Representative Lloyd Doggett on CNN becoming the first to break ranks.
I just feel that it's time for him to step aside if we are to be able to protect what he allowed us to gain in 2020, which was a victory for democracy.
Sources say Vice President Harris cut her vacation short and flew back to Washington to attend a lunch with the president. And tonight, Biden also meeting privately with Democratic governors as concerns reach a critical point. M. Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
A federal judge in Texas delayed a ban on non-compete clauses for employees. The ban would prevent employers from imposing non-compete deals for most already active agreements. The ban was approved by the FTC in April, but less than 24 hours after that, the agency was sued by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and several businesses, including a Texas-based tax service and software provider. The FTC says roughly 20% of all U.S. workers have a non-compete clause in their current jobs. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Memorial Medical Center held an internship program for students to experience the business-oriented side of healthcare. And children in Seadrift and Port O'Connor took part in a Texas floating classroom program to learn more on sea life and marine life. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. And we continue following evening anchor Don Brubaker on his trip to Ireland. This morning began with a tour of a castle where visitors had the chance to kiss the famed stone and receive the gift of gab. And shoppers then explored Woolen Mill store, picking up Waterford crystals, Irish sweaters, and other locally made treasures. Next, he visited another castle, discovering its history as a majestic fortress and former assembly place for kings, which later became a significant religious center. At half a mile a week, Governor Greg Abbott's border wall is expected to take around 30 years and $20 billion to build. You can read this Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. One child is dead after hiking in triple-digit heat temperatures in Phoenix, Arizona. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we hear from an experienced hiker on the dangers of hiking in high heat. Also ahead, a fourth case of bird flu has been identified in Colorado. We have the details and how it's similar to the cases in Michigan and Texas. That a 10-year-old boy is now dead after being airlifted from a valley hiking trail Tuesday afternoon.
A few times a year, this just happens.
Neighbors at the base of South Mountain heard the rescue helicopter fly in Tuesday afternoon.
Just periodically in my house, I hear helicopters overhead, and so go outside to investigate what's going on. And when they get louder, you know that they're going to come here to the park.
Phoenix firefighters responded to an emergency call around 2 o'clock, finding a 10-year-old boy in extremely critical condition from the heat on a South Mountain trail. He was airlifted off the mountain and an ambulance took him straight to the hospital. He later died.
Early reports suggest that he was out here with some relatives. They may have been from out of town, and they may have been hiking on this trail anywhere starting sometime around 9:30.
Which means the boy and his family were on the South Mountain trails for about 5 hours before that heat-related call came in. Expert hikers in the valley know this time of year can be extremely dangerous.
You can die out here. If you don't come with enough water.
Ryan Spurlock hikes 3 to 4 times a week, but says he adjusts his schedule with the summer months to avoid the heat of the day.
Ever since I almost died on the Flatiron, I'm not from here, I'm from Indiana. That was the first time I ever hiked anything in I think it was 105 that day. You know, I've hiked in Canada and everywhere, but the heat in Phoenix hit me in a different kind of way than anywhere else. It is deadly.
Marissa Sarbach, ABC 15, Arizona.
A fourth case of bird flu in the U.S. has been confirmed and marks the first confirmed case in Colorado associated with the most recent outbreak. Other cases were reported in Michigan and Texas. Like those cases, the infected person in Colorado worked with cattle. The man recovered after being treated with antiviral medication. His only symptom was pink eye. Health officials say though the disease is spreading among animals, it has not been known to transmit from person to person. Now, the increase of strokes among young adults over the last decade is alarming for many people. There are a number of health conditions associated with increased stroke risk among young adults.
A report from the CDC has found that stroke rates have increased by 15% over the past decade in adults younger than age 65. Every 40 seconds, someone in the U.S. has a stroke, and 1 in 4 stroke survivors will go on to have another one, according to the CDC. Think FAST, F-A-S-T, if you notice face drooping, arm weakness, and speech difficulty. If you see those signs, it's time to call 911. Healthy lifestyle choices such as eating fresh fruits and vegetables and eating foods low in fat and sodium can help prevent strokes. Talk with your doctor about other steps you can take to lower your risk for stroke. With this Medical Minute, I'm Em Nguyen, ABC News.
Popular weight loss and type 2 diabetes drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have been linked to an increased risk of a rare form of blindness. Researchers found that about 10 out of 100,000 people taking the semaglutide injections may experience the problem. The study was limited to a small number of patients from one specialized medical center. So experts note that this might not apply to a broader population and cannot prove definitively the medication causes the condition. Skydance has reached a tentative deal to acquire a controlling stake in Paramount, which is the company's parent company of CBS, MTV, and Nickelodeon. Skydance is an up-and-coming movie studio who helped produce the movie Top Gun: Maverick. If the merger is approved by a special committee of Paramount's board of directors, the two media companies will become a new giant in Hollywood. Paramount has struggled with the decline of cable TV and is about $14 million in debt. Here are some of the top headlines you can find in the Cuero Record. The Cuero Record Court welcomes the newest Ruby Begonia, and July 4th celebrations will be held at the Cuero Municipal Park from 4 to 8 p.m. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
It's going to be good for 4th of July. That's no problem. That's, tomorrow and Friday, Saturday, looking good. After that, it's complicated. 82 currently. It was up to 95 this afternoon, right at our seasonal average. But the question is, when does the rain begin and how much is it going to be? We'll try and answer all that coming up in a moment. We start tonight with a monster storm, Hurricane Beryl, and you can see it right about there. Beryl, rather. Beryl. Here is the island of Jamaica. You can see how it just skirted the southern end of the island. So there's going to be I'm talking massive destruction across the island because it's been there for about 6 hours now. So imagine the wind and the surf and all of that. Now the storm is going to be leaving that area, and then it's going to be going west. And every model is in pretty good conclusion that it will continue westerly and as a Category 1 approach the Yucatan coast right there, maybe a 2, but it will weaken once it gets on land until it gets back out over open water. Southern Gulf of Mexico is going to be ripe and ready with a lot of warm water to keep it going. So the storm path will take it right off to the Mexican coast about 50 miles south of Brownsville. By that time, the rain will start approaching us as we're going to be getting these outer bands going in this direction. And not only that, but the surf is going to be rather rough. Tides are going to be high by Sunday, maybe even Saturday. Just consider that there's a storm approaching. Your Thursday, Friday, you're going to be fine. Your Saturday is okay. But Sunday, we start seeing the clouds and the rain approach. It'll all be coming up from the south. If you're going south for the weekend, you better get back middle of the day on Sunday before the storm. You don't want to travel on Monday or Tuesday. We're looking at very, very, very big rain. So here's the storm direction. It's going to be 1 and a 2, and then a 1, and then when it comes ashore, it does lose strength. So by the time it gets up into the Rio Grande Valley, it'll be less, it'll be a tropical storm, 50, 60 mile an hour winds. And then of course, it's not a wind thing for us or for much of Texas. It's a rain thing, okay? Because the rain is going to be quite impressive. Right about now, the valley is looking for 10 to 12 inches of rain. Nueces Valley, which is right about here, about 6 to 8, and about 3 to 5 up in our area. And then I've got a little bit bad news. I just got an update on these numbers. It might be higher than that for us. So 4 to 6 inches of rain are going to be a problem. So we just have to get ready for it. That's all we can do at this point in time. Here's another view. This is Future Tracker. You can see how the storm is right there. That's the peak of the storm running over the peninsula. Then it rolls into deep South Texas, and then it's going to fall apart somewhere right here. Because it's falling apart here is where it's going to rain itself out, and we're looking at potential flooding rains by the time we get to Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. So just consider that. Again, tomorrow, your Thursday is going to be fine. Getting up to 93 in the Port Lavaca. Boating's going to be terrific. No significant wind. We're getting up to about a 96 in Cuero. And then again on Friday, terrific. Saturday, not bad. That's just a little pop-up shower. Sunday night, things get interesting, and it's going to be rough on us with substantial rainfall coming in on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from the remnants of Tropical Storm Beryl. That is your 7-day forecast. Have a great 4th of July. Reminding everybody that we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone so you can get all the weather bulletins that we're going to be doing over the next few days. And now we'll toss it over to Zach Brown with sports.
Thank you, Mac. The Houston Astros inching even closer to the top of that division. I'll have that in sports. The TCL All-Star Game was this evening in Seguin. Team Texas and Team Louisiana. The Generals had 4 players in that starting lineup for Team Texas, but some pretty bad news for Team Texas. They were no hit today in the All-Star Game. Now, Team Texas did pitch pretty well also, only allowing 3 runs. Good news for the Generals. Their offense is about as good as it gets in the regular season, so hopefully they don't carry any of what happened tonight in Seguin into their regular season games. Well, the Houston Astros have been the hottest team in baseball, nearly pulled off a 7-run comeback last night. They're firing on all cylinders at the plate today. Yordan Alvarez was named an all-star starter, first pitch of the 6th inning. He crushes yet another home run. Now in the 7th inning, Altuve, who was also just named an all-star starter at second base, lines one for a hit to drive in a run. The Astros put up 4 runs in the 7th, 3 runs in the 8th. Another offensive out for a final score, 9-2. Houston got 5 in 2/3 innings out of Ronel Blanco, who gives up just the 2 earned runs. The Astros bullpen was also lights out. Now we are scoreboard watching in July as the Astros have turned around their awful season, and they were they were 10 games back just 2 weeks ago. Now find themselves just 3 games back of first place Seattle. Just a few days later, they're currently trailing 3-0. If the Mariners do lose, Houston will be just 2 games back. As for the Texas Rangers, at last check, they were trailing 6-4 against the San Diego Padres. LeBron James entering year number 22. He's played so long that the Lakers just drafted his son to make him happy, and the Lakers' strategy worked pretty well. LeBron James, well, he's going to resign. The deal is for a reported 2 years worth $104 million. LeBron does have a player option after the first year. LeBron turns 40 on December 30th, but the future Hall of Famer showed no signs of slowing down. He just made the All-Star team for the 20th time and still averaged almost 26 points per game. Now, while LeBron James keeps going, another well-known superstar hanging up the shoes, Kemba Walker, well known for his cardiac Kemba days at UConn, has announced he is retiring. The 34-year-old Walker was drafted back in 2011 in the first round by the Charlotte Bobcats, who are now the Hornets, and he is returning to where it all began. Earlier this afternoon, he joined the Hornets coaching staff as a player enhancement coach. Jontay Porter is expected to face charges in connection to a sports betting scheme. According to court records, the filing in a new district court says Porter's legal matter is related to 4 defendants who were recently arrested and implicated in an illegal gambling venture. Porter played for the Toronto Raptors but was banned by the NBA in April for violating the league's gambling rules. So far, there's been no comment from Porter or his lawyer. The 4 defendants have all waived their preliminary hearings. And that is it for your sports. Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Zach, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we're going to take a last look at your weather with Mac. Plus, tomorrow is Independence Day and National Barbecue Rib Day. Call it a Cal Beauty Contest. It's the new competition category to the Clay County Fair later this month, and it's called Cow Fitting. The owner says she uses products like cow glue or hairspray for cows to shape the cow's hair into a more flattering body line, sort of like Spanx for cows. And she'll also use hair She'll also use hair mascara and a type of animal safe spray paint to make her coat look darker and stand out more. She also blow dries to make her extra fluffy and pretty.
She just wants to eat grass and graze, dude.
Yeah,
she's pretty.
When they started using hairspray, I said, that's it. That's too much. That's it.
Alrighty, well, competitors for the 2024 Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest have weighed in. A total of 15 men and 14 women will compete in the 4th of July tradition. The winner takes home a $20,000 reward and the yellow mustard belt. Notably absent is 16-time champion Joey Chestnut. He was banned from the competition because he is representing a rival brand that sells plant-based hot dogs. Again, these competitions have always kind of, I hate to say it, grossed me out.
I will say it grossed me out. Yeah.
It's impressive though. Still, I don't know if it's a sport though.
It's not.
If it's not a sport when I do it, it's not a sport when they do it.
It's certainly not a bad. It's a bad example to kids, you know. Swallow as many of these as you can. Anyway, folks. Of course, since we're getting very busy into the tropical season, just want to remind you, certain sponsors around the city. You can find this year's version of the storm tracking map. Now, we put out the coordinates every day, and you can certainly track it like that. But beyond that, it's got a lot of information on there that would be helpful for you to consider, like the evacuation routes. I don't believe we're going to need evacuation routes, but low-lying areas will be probably flooding by early next week as we get the big rainstorm coming in from Beryl, which will affect us. When does it start? Your weekend is good until Sunday night. Then Monday is a complete washout with significant rainfall around the area Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday as well.
Alrighty, thank you, Mac. And Thursday is not just about fireworks. July 4th is also about National Barbecue Ribs Day. The experts suggest adding barbecue sauce when about 40 minutes of grill time remains, and then resting the ribs when they are done. After that, it's time to dig in, but you know, everybody kind of has their own recipe going on, so give or take.
It's a secret.
Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10. Don't forget to join Sunrise anchor Carolina Astrain and meteorologist Parker Cox for 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Have a good night.